My name is Gabriella Cruz. Our business is ECS Electric. My husband's the owner, but I'm involved with that, and so we're an electrical company. Well, here at the conference, they talk a lot about consistency, and so just staying consistent with different things in the business, and I feel like applying that to our business model will really help us grow. The atmosphere is very positive, uplifting, and then it's very fun and energetic, and so it gets you pumped and it gets you excited, and it encourages you to do big things. Probably how real they are. They tell you up front what you need to do and what's like a no-go, and some conferences they kind of sugarcoat things, so I like how real they are here. I think it'll definitely, if you want your business to grow, I think this would be a great experience, and then not only that, it'll encourage you and inform you on so many things you don't think about on a daily basis.
Broadcasting live from the center of the universe, it's Business School without the BS.
We're going to win with every single facet. We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
Yes, 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 and yes. On today's show, we are celebrating the epic growth of Complete Carpet. Nathan, welcome on to the Thrivetime Show. How are you?
Oh, it is awesome to be here, Clay. Thank you so much.
Do you like being in this room?
Oh, this is an awesome room. And, you know, speaking of wins, I walked around, I was looking at there's an epic number of books. You should have one podcast where you have someone go with a mic and just walk around and talk about all of the swag, all of the books, all of the things you've collected in here, because it is amazing, the stuff that you have.
Well, I'm going to share with you kind of a fun story. And Jason, as I'm sharing this story, can you please explain to the listeners who Michael Levine is?
Oh, man, Michael Levine is the PR guru. He is, without a doubt, one of the most interesting people you will ever meet. But he wrote the, if I'm not mistaken, it's the Guerrilla Marketing book, or Guerrilla PR? What's the name of that book?
Well, Michael Levine is a New York Times best-selling author. I just got up to hand you a copy of the book. What's that book title right there?
This is Guerrilla PR 2.0.
Yeah. Open the book, look at the inside cover. What does it say?
Ooh, Dear Clay, this is really doctor's level handwriting.
Sure.
And so I'm going to say, you're an amazing person. Start a revolution.
Yes.
Start a revolution. Hey, I got it.
Yeah, and so I again, if you flip through that book, again, what's that book called again?
This is Guerrilla PR 2.0.
I read books in a very different way than most people do, okay? So like right now, I'm in the process
right to left, or?
Like this is Soft Selling in a Hard World. Could you, Jason, explain to the listeners what is going on inside this book here? Yep. Soft Selling in a Hard World by Jerry Vass. Look at that book. What's going on in the pages of that book?
Well, immediately I see that there are dog ears everywhere. But I see on here, page 31, you have the law of credibility, and you've highlighted a portion of it. So law of credibility, don't say anything you can't prove, be able to prove everything you say. Then you made a note at the top to remind yourself law of credibility.
Is there a lot of writing and highlighting in that book?
There is highlighting and writing on every page. There's red X's, there's things.
So let me explain to you what I'm doing with that book. Soft Selling in a Hard World, I read it the first time and I thought, this is really good. I have no idea what it's about.
Yeah.
Have you ever had that before, Breck, where you're reading the Bible or something and you're going, what is this about? Mm-hmm. So I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to type the book. So I would read like a page, and then I would type a summary of the page. Right. And I would read a page and a summary of the page. And I would read a page and a summary. And I kept doing that. Mm-hmm. I'm forcing myself to learn what's in the book, to create a neural pathway where I get it. Well, with that Michael Levine book, I read this book about public relations. Now, he is the PR consultant of choice for Michael Jackson, for Nike, for Prince, President Bush. Just like anybody, I bought the book. Anybody can buy the book. I bought the book. You can buy the book. We can all buy the book. But then this is where I go. I go to a different level that is just weird. I then say I have to meet him.
Right.
So I will actually reach out to the person, and I will try to arrange a meeting or a phone conversation. Now, for this particular guy, Michael Levine, he told me that I could only meet him if I paid him $25,000. Mm-hmm. And so I did. And that's how I met him. And now if you can read behind you, look at the picture behind you on the wall. There's a letter there. What does that say there, Nathan? You can just kind of read it out loud. It'll work.
All right. It says, Dear Brother Clay, greetings. Once again, I want to thank you sincerely for the privilege of speaking to you at the Thrivetime Live Annual Convention in Tulsa. For the second year in a row, I had the extraordinary experience of watching our community expand and grow in a way that is, well, let's just say impressive. And you have taught me much in our several years of friendship. Clay, and I truly consider you an American hero for what you are doing in turning the tide away from the entitlement mentality, strangling our rapidly decaying nation. I am happy to come back to Tulsa at your invitation, but wanted to thank you sincerely for the courtesy and generosity. It is one of the highlights of the year. I look forward to speaking with you soon. Warmly, Michael Levine. Hey, there's a phone number here, too. I'm going to write that down right here.
But the reason why I'm sharing this story is Robert Greene, the best-selling author of the book Mastery, blew my mind with this quote. I'll read it to you. He says, "The conventional mind is passive. It consumes information and regurgitates it in familiar forms. The dimensional mind is active, transforming everything it digests into something new and original, creating instead of consuming." So the way my mind works is I'm reading this book. I need to apply the principles in it, which I've done, and that's how we generated a lot of PR wins, public relations wins for a lot of my clients, getting them in the news and the media, that kind of thing, is from the fruits, the nuggets of knowledge taught inside Michael Levine's book. But then I have to take it a step further. I have to meet the author. And so that's how that works. And then in your hands, you got the Jerry Bass's book, Soft Selling in a Hard World, and I had to have him on our show, and we did have him on the show because I'm all about implementation. I'm all about implementation. So this book, this room here is all about three things: learning, earning, and burning. I'm going to learn stuff, I'm going to apply it and earn more, and then I'm going to burn pinion wood. Learn, earn, and burn. That's all I'm doing in this room. I mean, this room is a great big coliseum of knowledge that you don't get in college. And you, Nathan, are the fruit of that. It's been super exciting to see your business grow.
Yes.
Share with the listeners how much you've grown by.
And before I tell you that, because that's a big number. It's been exciting the last 2 years. As I walked around the room and I was looking at all the books, there was 10 books in specific that kind of stood out to me.
Sure.
That I noticed there was titles to.
Yeah.
And I thought, I think you said learning, earning, and burning.
Yes.
And so I'm going to go through these 10 books. I feel like in order, they may almost tell a story all on their own.
Uh-oh.
The first one was Gaffigan's, and if you want to chime in and tell me something about some of these
Jim
books, that'd be
Gaffigan's
great.
book,
Dad is Fat. Yes.
Jim Gaffigan is a funny person.
Yes, he is.
But why? I mean, why is he funny? I mean, how is he funny? I think that's where I go. So I go, why? I was speaking. Where was I? I was speaking I was in Las Vegas, speaking to a group of Maytag people. I think. No, it was the bankers, the Community Bankers Association. I was speaking there, and somebody came up to me, and this was probably 2009 or 10, and they said, "You sound just like Jim Gaffigan."
I agree.
And I said, "Who's that?" And they go, "Get out of here. I know you're copying him." And I honestly don't know who he is, but I appreciate that. Maybe you're not. She goes, "He does that weird whisper voice you do."
Yes,
and I said,
he does.
And I said, "What?" And she says, the thing where you say, "Oh, okay, now," that thing where you're, and she says, you do the whisper voice. And I'm going, "I do not." And then she says, and then you do that old English voice he does. I said, "What is that?" And she says, where you, "All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered." And I'm like, I don't know who he is. And so Jim Gaffigan does voices. So when I do my show, I have my voices card here next to me. And these are all the different voices that I can do or that I prefer to do when I do the show. And Jim Gaffigan, I realized he's funny in the written form too, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
His humor is beyond just, to be a comedian, Jason, you've done stand-up comedy. It's tough to do on a mic.
Yeah.
But to do it, I thought, can he be that funny in a book?
Oh, yeah. Trying to translate it. Like when I was writing, you only get like a 5-minute set, but your whole thing is to perform to an audience and make them react. But then, every now and then, back when I was on social media, I'm like, I thought of this funny little thing. I'll put it up. And there's no response. You're like, God, how do I make that funny? It's just text. So hats off to him for being able to, translate that between the two.
So that book is great. Great comedy book, and I just like reading it because I can learn things about comedy. The other book I recommend, if you just want to read a book that's funny that you makes you where you can't stop laughing, is the book called "Let Me Off at the Top" by Ron Burgundy.
Yes.
It says, no, it's just the best book ever. Like if you're going through a rough patch, you need to laugh. This book is awesome. He said it's called "Let Me Off at the Top: My Classy Life and Other Musings." And then on the front of the book, where you normally have a book endorsed by somebody else, it says, "I wrote a hell of a book." And in the book, these are I mean, let me just read to you part of this book. He says, "Does mankind really need another book dumped onto the giant garbage heap of books already out there? Is there some pressing desire for the wisdom of a humble news anchor in this world? Will it add to the great literary achievements throughout time, or will it be lost in a swamp of trivial scribbling like pornography, devoured and then destroyed out of shame? I stand there, I write standing up, and I say, no, no, this book will not be lost. This book is necessary. It's an important work for an important man. I was the #1 news anchor in all of San Diego. My name is Ron Burgundy, and what you have in your hands is a very big deal. It's my life. It's my words. It's my gift to you. If the truth be told, I wanted to write a book for a long time, but how? How do you write a book? Oh, sure. I know you get papers and pencils and make yourself a pot of coffee and you stay up all night and write one. Seems simple enough, but it's not. There's a very long tradition of book writing going back through history all the way to Roman times. And if you know history like I do, you understand that book writing is not easy. Rule number 1, saith the bard, to thy own self be truth in regards to yourself. I knew from the beginning, before even purchasing the paper and the pencils and the cans of coffee, I would have to spend a little time getting to know me. I've been so busy being Ron Burgundy, the legend, that I never stopped to really get to know Ron Burgundy, the man. Before I wrote one word of this masterpiece, I took long walks through the streets of San Diego, trying to make friends with a guy I barely knew, myself. I talked to myself. That's right, in bars, at bus stops, and laundromats, wherever my muse took me. I recommend it. Go out and talk to yourself. Record the conversations like I did. I had a small, lightweight, 20-pound Grundig reel-to-reel tape recorder with a built-in microphone.
Throw that on your shoulder.
A typical conversation went like this. Ron, hey, good friend of mine. Ron, hey, right back at you. Ron, what's it all about? Ron, it's a good question, Ron. You ask tough questions. Ron, it's my business. I'm a news anchor by trade. Ron, no kidding. That's important. Ron, it's really not. Anyway, so I like the Jim Gaffigan book because it taught me that you can be funny while writing.
And he also is great because he is funny while being clean, which is a lot harder to be funny and clean because you got to get intellectual. You got to get into a better space that way.
True. So that's why I have that book.
Mm-hmm. So I saw Dad is Fat, and then I saw pretty close to it was Jumpstart to Skinny.
Oh, yeah. That is a book. I have a lot of fitness clients I've worked with, and they're really smart. You know, Breck, you've seen this. They've been to school a lot.
Sure.
And they have a lot of degrees.
Yep.
And they are a walking billboard of fitness.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, they can't teach it to people.
Right.
They have the curse of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Brett, can you kind of explain what that means when you become such an expert that you can no longer teach it to the average person?
Well, there was a little principle when I came out of chiropractic school where they talked about verbal vomit. And so you've spent all this time collecting information and going through these difficult, challenging courses. And then the next thing you want to do is just prove your knowledge to everybody. And you use all these big, particular terms and all this jargon and everything. And people are looking at you like, I have no idea what you're talking about. That helps me in no way, shape, or form. And so you have to be able to like bring it back down to where you can talk to a third grader when you're talking to adults. But you got to put it on that 8-year-old level to where people can understand exactly what you're trying to get, because if you have all the knowledge but you can't communicate it, it doesn't really help you at all.
When you said an 8-year-old, why'd you look at me?
So Jumpstart to Skinny. That book was written by Bob Harper from the Biggest Loser fame, and it's just it helped me to help clients better explain what they do, and it's such a weird thing, but I actually have written the fitness curriculum for I think 6 gyms now, where I've actually written because these people who own these gyms, a lot of times they just struggle to communicate the basic principles. And so let me just give you a paraphrase of that book. If you want to lose weight and look great, don't eat wheat, don't eat sweets, and don't drink alcohol. And then what can you
There
eat?
goes half
You
of
can
people's
only
diet.
eat meat, vegetables, and water. Meat, vegetables, that's all you can have. Don't have a sugary beverage. It's just, seriously, meat, vegetables, and water. That's all you can, if you want to lose weight and feel great. Now, this is what's bizarre about that book and that principle. What do you think how much weight do you think the average person loses, Dr. Breck, if they go for 45 days with having only meat, vegetables, and water, no other substances? How much weight do you think they lose on average?
In 45 days, I would say probably about 20 pounds.
Yep. Every time. Every time. And that's without working out.
Right.
Now, when they work out, they get the muscularity going too, and then their body, their resting metabolic rate, essentially their body burns calories while they're sleeping.
Right.
Their muscle just devours fat. Now it gets crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Now these people will live if they work out.
This is the frustration when husbands and wives want to lose weight together because typically men have more body mass as far as the muscle, and so they actually tend to do a lot better in the short term, and the women get frustrated.
That right there. Awesome. That's a fun factoid that somebody did not know that. Back to you, Nathan.
So right next to Jumpstart to Skinny, I saw another one called Maximized Manhood.
Maximize.
That was my nickname in high school. How did you get that?
Wow.
Let's talk
Was
about
it Chocolate Thunder? I really thought
Was that
That
the
was the
one
second one.
was it by Edwin Lewis Cole?
that sounds right.
Okay. Basically, we live in a world where, and I know half of our listeners are females, but we live in a world where our culture is now telling dudes to be less
Dude-like? Yeah.
And
yes.
I don't want to get into, this is not
Our
about
educational system as a whole.
yeah, and it's just kind of, and so you have a lot of absent fathers. You have a lot of dads that aren't there. Financially for their kids, they're not there. Mentally, they're not there for their kids. Spiritually, they're not there for their kids. And so I felt like I needed to read a book that would kind of teach me how to be a better dad. And I feel like I'm getting in like the solid B- range now as a dad. I'm getting there. But this book, it talks about how to be a tender person, but also be tough. Like how to listen to your kids and care, but also be firm about things. How at the end of the day, your family's success starts and stops with you. You've got to be the head of the household. And I think in our culture now, a lot of women are trying to be the head of the household, and then the guy is trying to also be the head of the household. And Jason, anything with two
heads, anything with more than one head is a monster.
Yeah, and we talk about this all. It's a business principle. So I don't care who necessarily leads your house. There needs to be somebody who's in charge of it. And so that's a book I would recommend.
Well, and a good quote I got from a customer once said that if both of you are great at something, one of you is redundant. So try to be great at something different than your spouse is at, so you both have value to the situation.
Absolutely. Okay, and our next book that you found on the shelf was?
After Maximizing Your Manhood, I saw How Happiness Happens.
Now, who was the author of that book? So I've read several books about happiness.
Unfortunately, I didn't write that particular one down.
Let me look it up real quick, because I read all these books. Is it by Max Lucado?
Yes, that sounds right.
Okay, Max Lucado is a best-selling author. He's also a pastor. We've had him on the Thrivetime show before as a guest.
In San Antonio.
Yeah, he's from San Antonio. He's just a mega growth church guy.
I've got to hear him speak here in Tulsa a couple years ago. Yeah.
Where'd you see him speak at?
He was at a deal called the Tulsa Workshop. It's a spiritual event each year in March. It's not currently going on, though. So that's a sad note. You can't.
I was getting really excited.
I know.
Just let me down right there.
And I read the book because I was interviewing him, but I'll tell you why I read it because I was interviewing him. I frankly had zero interest in the topic, but I will tell you
happiness.
No, at all. But I'll tell you why you would like it, or somebody would. Is and Jason, you see this. What happens when we help a client achieve financial freedom?
Usually they get bored.
There it is. And then they'll say this stuff to me. They'll say, "Here's the deal. Can I tell you something?" And I'm like, "Well, you're paying me. Sure, you can tell what you want." And they go, "I don't like my wife," and it only happens half the time.
Yeah, that's a weird conversation to have with a coach or client.
No, seriously, I don't like her.
Yeah.
And I used to have to go to work And when I was at work, I had a reason to not be around her. But now I don't have to be at work because I have financial freedom. And now I have to see her like 10 hours a day. And I don't like that. Could you help me? I mean, I'm serious. This happens a lot. Or you'll have the reverse of that will be said. Or someone will just say, I'm just bored out of my mind. I used to like to work, and now I don't have to. And so I've tried to get better at empathizing with my clients. So, yesterday I spent my entire day writing a book that I'm working on about sales. And I was not bored, and I was not, unhappy. But I find a lot of people become that because they don't know the mechanics of building a happy life. And so I wanted to read that book to be able to better teach that idea to people. Breck, have you seen this before?
Well, I was going to ask, is it true that, oftentimes these same people, they have that idea of happiness in some form or another as that carrot out ahead, and they kind of get there and they're like, that wasn't it.
I think people believe that acquiring stuff makes them happy.
And then they find out otherwise.
So like my Hummer, it's a great vehicle. I like it. It's fun. I've had it for a long time. Some people think once I have a Hummer or once I have a Lamborghini or once I have then I'll be happy.
Right.
And once you realize that happiness is not the acquisition of stuff. You don't need to buy stuff that you don't need to impress people you don't know. Right. Happiness is a decision that you are going to figure out your F6 goals for your faith, your family, your finances, your fitness, your friendship, and your fun. You're going to figure out your goals for your faith, your family, your finances, your fitness, your friendship, and your fun. And then you're going to sit down with your spouse and get on the same page about what you want to do as a couple. And then you do life together. And happiness isn't a
it comes
destination.
Along on the ride.
Yeah, it's not a destination you get to. You enjoy
is
the process.
Road, not the destination.
Shunda, that was good. Nathan, what was the next book you found on the shelf?
After learning about how happiness happens, there was an intimate history.
An intimate history?
Yes.
Intimate history?
It was an intimate history.
I don't think I've read that book. That's probably one that was mailed to me by someone who wanted to be on the show.
Oh,
but I've not read that
potentially
book.
Need to mail it back. So right after an intimate history, I saw next one, and I think you like this one, is Losing My Virginity.
Oh, by Richard Branson?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's a great book. That book explains to you how he started building $1 billion business by cold calling through the phone book. I don't think people are aware of this. Richard Branson is dyslexic. He can't read. But his first business was a newspaper. And he started it after he flunked out of school by cold calling people in the phone book. And just out of the phone book. And I think if you think, well, I want to be successful, but I'm not willing to call through the phone book, then you can't be. And so that book is just a powerful book about, and by the way, he looks exactly like Austin Powers.
It's true. That's where they got the character.
And so the character of Austin Powers is based on how he used to look.
Yeah, baby.
Have you seen a picture of him back in the day? Have you seen this?
Oh, I've seen the side by side. You should pull that up.
Richard Branson, and then
we're doing a Google search.
I've not seen this picture.
Oh, this will blow your mind.
Oh, yes.
I'll put it on the show notes. Look at this.
It's so
the young Richard Branson. And
Richard Branson.
They look just the same.
They look exactly the same.
The hair.
Truly impressive.
The turtleneck sweater.
I mean, it's crazy. So anyway, that book is great. In that book, it's just a great book about how to become an entrepreneur. In his story, he has a lot of ups and downs, things that mistakes he made, but he puts it all out there. It's a great book.
I mean, he didn't start with the private island and the jets.
He did not. And I think a lot of people think, I want to be successful. I want to make a ClickFunnels. What? I mean, you got to pick up the phone and call people you don't know. And Richard Branson shares that in his book very, very well. What was the next book you found?
After you Losing My Virginity, you've got Made in America.
Made in America. That would be Sam Walton's book?
Yes, yeah.
That's the first book that I cried when he died in the book. I felt like it's like my grandfather or somebody. I already knew he was dead, and I knew he was going to die. But
this just in.
Sam Walton and I have the exact same mindset. Like we're very, very similar. And so Sam Walton wanted to work every single day. He felt like it was his duty to always be the first one at work, last one out. He loves it. So if you get to work, John always messes with me because he gets to work like at 2 a.m. I get to work at 3 and he's already there. It pisses me off. But I just like to work. I'm not in pursuit of time freedom or financial freedom. I've already done that. So I just like to work. And Sam Walton had bone cancer and he was on the verge of dying, but he insisted and still walking the Walmart stores because he always would walk. He would fly in randomly to a Walmart supercenter and he would walk up and down the aisles and greet customers and ask them how he could make the experience better.
And if you've not heard it yet, I'd say in Clay's top 10 podcast is the interview he had with Sam Walton's right-hand man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness, where he's talking to him, and he says, hey, he had to do it, so we put a belt around him and we put our arm behind his jacket so that we could carry him on those last few days where he still had to be in the stores, but he couldn't walk anymore. And so they're literally carrying him through the stores just so they could get him there again, and he could at least visit 1 or 2 stores every day, even though he was fighting cancer and couldn't walk anymore.
And his whole deal is he wanted to go in the store and meet people and say, how can we make the experience better? That was like his whole deal. And I love that kind of thing. And so his book, when he died, I was like, I had to go to Atwood's and sort it out. Was there another book you found on the shelf?
Yes. The next one was after Made in America was Delivering Happiness.
Was that Delivering Happiness? That would be that's Zappos, Tony Hsieh's book, Delivering Happiness by Tony Hsieh. Yes. That book is a great book. Essentially, that book is about how Tony Hsieh did not start Zappos. He grew Zappos. He started another company, and the name of the company escapes me right now because this is all off the cuff.
Oh, yeah.
But that company did really well. But, Jason, why do you think he decided to sell it? The company before Zappos. Any guess at all? Totally impromptu.
I would assume he built it to where he wanted to take it and then wanted to focus on something else.
This is what happens is he hated his employees. He realized, I hate everybody who works here.
Oh, doom loop.
And I totally related to that. So I built DJ Connection at a certain point. I realized I hate all of my employees. So now I run business very differently. I will not have you work for me unless I like you. But that book explains that. And then it explains when he built Zappos, he loved everybody who worked there. So Homeboy basically had an apartment and he couldn't afford an office space. So he had a sky-rise condo in Vegas. And all the employees lived with him. It's like the call center was in his living room.
They live with you.
And is Zappos the same one? I think at a conference you had us look up a picture of their offices where everyone just goes crazy on each stall.
Yes, on each workstation. It's super decorated. He also lives in a Jetstream, one of those little RV trailers.
Yeah, the Airstream.
Yeah, he's like a billionaire, but he lives in an Airstream parked in the parking lot.
It's great.
I mean, we all
That's
got
the
our little
move.
quirks.
So I got to ask you here because we want to celebrate your wins of the week before we have our next guest on. How much growth have you had since you and I first met? What's the number? Give us the number.
Since we first met, we have over tripled in business, and this month actually, compared to last year, we're up 40%, and we still got another week to go for the end of the month. And compared to, I think it was the January before we started with you guys, we're up almost 3.5 times what we had done before. So we've had great growth. I want to hit on the last 2 here because
sure.
There's a theme I seem like had go. You don't have to talk about these last 2, but there was a number 9 I noticed on the list was a supernatural childbirth, and then right near there was expect a miracle. So I think these
Expect a Miracle is Oral Roberts' book.
Oh, yes.
Which you're required to read if you go to ORU. And I want everybody to know this. If you're out there and you like Oral Roberts, that's totally great. But I just want you to know that Oral Roberts hired Napoleon Hill to be his mentor. So if you read the book about Napoleon Hill's life called A Lifetime of Riches, you will discover that Napoleon Hill, who was a great author and a great person, a great teacher, he was divorced a couple times, and he had bouts of depression. And when he finally figured it out, one of his main clients was Oral Roberts. So, again, if you're a Christian, please read the Bible and don't listen to me because I'm not a theologian. But a lot of the prosperity message was invented by Napoleon Hill. So a lot of the things that Oral Roberts said were basically portions of Think and Grow Rich mixed with Scripture. And so I was required to read that book. I don't know that I'm a fan of that book. I'm married to somebody who likes that book, who loves that book. I know God is real and can do miracles. I don't dislike Oral Roberts. I can just say I don't share the same theology as he does. My wife does, I think. I think she shares the same theology. But it is a good book if you are one who likes to expect miracles during church services.
Well, and I think if you take all 10 of these books together, you'd have the explanation of how you end up successful and with 5 children.
There it is. That's nice. That's nice. So you've grown by 300%.
Yes.
And you are a diligent doer. You've implemented everything that we could possibly teach. And I'm excited about that because you are a guy who implements.
And my advice to those who are saying, hey, how do I get there? And sometimes it can be hard. It can be over. How do I get to 3 times growth? How do I get to that? And that's not like year one. We're not a startup that it's 3 times growth because last year I only had 1 customer and this year I've got 3. So that was 3 times. No, we were in business for 18, 19 years before. And so we've tried to grow from that base. And all of it comes, I think, from starting with one thing. Get good at one thing and make that a habit. And then add one more thing. Don't change everything about your business. Otherwise, you'll just get drowned in all of the items and things that you could switch and you change. Change one small thing. Make that a habit. When I was played basketball, we won 2 state championships. And the way we won them was not by being amazing and great. It was by every time we got on the court, we had to go out and make 100 layups first before we touched anything else. We had to get, he said, unless you're good and you can make the layup, I don't care if you can make any other shot on the floor. He said, you need to be able to make the easy thing. Find something easy in your business and make that a habit. Once that's a habit, everything else you'll start seeing everything else starts becoming easy because you already got good core habits.
You habitually wow your customers.
Yes,
you
every
habitually
time.
call your leads until they cry, buy, or die.
Every time.
You habitually get Google reviews and video reviews.
Every time.
You habitually offer a no-brainer. It's a habit at this point. And we have a habit. We now have a habit, Jason, on the show of calling people and calling. We do call-in guests from time to time. So we're going to call Daniel here from Snow Bear Heat and Air.
Yeah.
He is based in Amarillo, Texas. And we have the Cruise Missile on the show.
The Cruise Missile.
The Cruise Missile. So I'm going to have the Cruise Missile steal your mic real quick here. And I'm going to call Daniel with Daniel's Heat and Air, a.k.a. Snow Bear Heat and Air.
Welcome, Mr. Cruise Missile.
Okay.
Good morning.
I'm going to call him right now. Here we go. Got the phone. And I know it's exciting listening to a podcast where somebody is calling other people, but this is how it happens. This is how we go to that phone technology. And we'll know if he's ghosting us if he doesn't pick up.
No pressure at all. Just,
Here we go.
just we'll count the number of rings as it goes along. I say
happen?
3. I'm gonna put my money on 3.
How's it going, Ted?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing good.
Hey,
Not bad at all.
Hey, are you? Are the guys learning stuff down there in Amarillo?
Yes, they learned a lot. They learned a lot. It was a lot of fun having those guys. They're a bunch of good guys.
I think we had.
I see why you made Ben a manager over there.
Yeah, Ben. I mean,
Smart.
and for the listeners out there that don't know, we're in the process of opening up a Snow Bear Heat and Air in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I say we, John and I. I'm putting up 49% of the cash. John's putting up 51% of the cash. So it's his problems. And the guys went down to Amarillo. We had Ben down there, Jonathan, and Ty, I believe, right?
Yes.
And so you're teaching them the dark arts of HVAC. And we have a listener here today here, Daniel. His name is James. James, meet Daniel.
Hey, Daniel. How you doing?
Doing pretty good, James. How you doing, sir?
Doing well. Doing well.
Now, James is a guy who has a business that's doing well. James, can you explain what you do for a living and what your business does?
Yeah, so we're electrical contractors, electricians, to just put it simply. So we provide electrical services in for residential and commercial, and soon we'll be doing some industrial work as well.
Got it. And so you have a few questions here for Daniel. So I'm going to let you ask Daniel any questions you have about. I believe we have a lot of questions focused on commercial work and invoicing and these kinds of things. So you can ask Daniel any questions you want because he has become the master of working on commercial projects.
More so questions in the realm of the estimating on commercial projects. As you well may know, the estimating on residential projects is relatively simple, but can get pretty complicated when you get into the commercial projects. How do you handle your commercial bids?
Well, the best practice for making the switch from residential to commercial is basically preparing to charge the customer 15 to 20% more than what you would charge for a residential job, because the liability on it is a lot higher.
Right.
So
higher risk.
So you need to kind of beef up your insurance and prepare to stay at those jobs a lot longer. And the way I do it, I'll tell you a little bit the way I've kind of priced the commercial stuff. Was think of every possible job you could think of, put it on paper. Next, think of everything that would go into to that one job, from man hours, material, office staff hours, and don't forget to calculate your taxes in there. My CPA and myself, we put together a formula where we just plug stuff into an Excel spreadsheet. We went through each one of these jobs, and that way we get a true net profit on each job, and And after you've done that, you put everything on paper. You put it in a price book. That way, you're not constantly thinking, how much do I need to charge for this job? You just flip to it. And what we're using now for, instead of a price book, we have a program called Field Edge. It's a software, and that helps the office staff stay on schedule. It has every job possible in that software. So if one of the technicians is looking for a job, they just put in the keyword condenser fan motor. In your case, it'd be like a plug or something, or a switch, or a breaker box, and it pulls up the price for that breaker box. So we're never losing money. We're making sure we're getting about 35% net profit, a true net profit.
Right. That was going to be my next question. Kind of, what is your range that you shoot for in terms of overall profit in the job? What's the percentage on that? So
you're saying you like to go for what percentage of profit there, Daniel, just so all the listeners can understand?
Residential, I like aiming for about 30 to 35% net profit.
Yep.
And like I said, on commercial, you want to charge 15 to 20% more because there's a lot of things that can go wrong on a commercial job. So we're looking at 55% net profit after on a commercial job.
Let me ask you this. I don't know if you run into this doing HVAC, but dealing with like a lot of these general contractors, you'll have some kind of a change here or there. How do you deal with the change orders, or because a lot of these general contractors like to slip something in the last second? They'll like say, "Oh, hey, you know what? I need this over here too. Can we go ahead and do that?" How do you deal with that?
Well, again, that's where our software comes into play. On that software, the customer has to sign off on everything that he's agreed to pay for. So he hasn't signed off on it and told us it's okay. Well, we'll have to get him to sign again on. We'll have to write him up another bid and get him to sign off on it again.
Right. Basically,
because after
like
he signs off on it, he has to pay for it.
Right. Yeah, I figured that. I mean, we, dealing with general contractors, just, I've learned you've got to be super detailed with everything that's involved in the job scope. And then, because I think general contractors, even just regular customers, will see what they can get added in, after you've already done everything that you guys originally agreed to. So, but I was just curious to know how you kind of dealt with that. I mean, it sounds like we're on the same page.
I put all the wording and verbiage that went into that document before the customer actually signs to agree for us to do the work. I sent that to the lawyer, which is Scott, and he signed off on it and said, "Yeah, that looks good." So go ahead and load that into your Field Edge software. That way, everything's legal, and they can't come back later on and say, "Well, you said you were supposed to do this and you didn't do it." Hey, you signed off on it, and as soon as they sign off on it, it sends them an email right away.
Daniel, I want to make sure I'm breaking this down for all the listeners so they get it. And Dr. Breck, I want to get your take on this too.
Sure.
But what happens is, and the name of your company, it's ECS Electric, am I correct?
ECS Electric, yes.
What's your website?
It's ECSElectricLLC.com.
How long have you been in business?
Since the beginning of 2018, January 2018.
Are you growing?
Yes, exponentially.
Awesome. How much have you grown this year as a percentage?
We did about 300% from, the end of 2018, or 2018 to in 2019.
Okay. And how long have you been a client with us?
Not even a year yet.
Yeah, and so I want to make sure the listeners get this, because this is important. And Breck, I want to get your take on this. We got so much wisdom here. I want to see if we can distill it all. One is, you right now, if you're listening today, you've got to get serious about your pricing. Okay, so right away, let's go ahead and do what Daniel said to do. Let's sit down with our accountant this week, action item, and let's properly price out stuff. Breck, for years you wandered in the wilderness of very busy and unprofitable as a chiropractor. Can you preach the good news to somebody out there who just won't sit down and figure out their pricing?
Well, that was actually one of the first things I did with my coach was to sit down and figure out where are we at in the market and, what can be done differently than what we've currently been doing or historically doing. And our pricing was definitely something that was brought up. It stood out as a red flag pretty much immediately. And so, he challenged me to call all of our competitors or a number of our competitors and figure out, okay, where really is the price point in the area, because he knew that I wanted to still be economical and affordable, and that I didn't want to price myself out of reach for our patients. But at the same time, he felt like I was clearly leaving money on the table, and he wasn't wrong. And so we did that. And it was time to make a change in our price structure, and that happened 2 years ago now. And there's a little pushback on that. Anytime you make change, there's going to be a little bit of pushback.
About
but
10
overall,
or 15% of customers aren't happy with it, maybe?
I don't even think it was that high, honestly.
Okay.
But and there's different things. Some of the things we did were we had some different giveaways that we were doing on a routine basis.
Yep.
And I would say the patients were more upset of how we changed the giveaway structure. So, there's a certain entitlement. Once you've done something, there's an expectation you'll continue to do it that same way. And that was inherited from a former partner.
Yeah.
And so I looked at that and said, okay, this isn't really sustainable moving forward. We'll just adjust it a little bit.
Right.
And that small adjustment actually made a bigger issue for the patients. And that was where we give away a massage after so many visits. So that went from every 5th visit to every 7th visit. And that little switch definitely ruffled more feathers than increasing the pricing.
So step one, we got to meet with our accountant or our bookkeeper. Let's go over the pricing. Let's Daniel, what profit margin do you recommend if you're in the air conditioning business? What profit percentage would you recommend if you're dealing with residential clients?
Residential clients, we're looking for a 30 to 35% profit margin, net profit.
Got it. And then then step 2, use the software, I would recommend Field Edge. That's what Daniel uses. Or use Excel. I don't care. But have your standardized pricing written down somewhere. And what I would do, Mr. Cruise Missile, is I would always refer to a partner who is rigid about pricing. So as an example, if I am meeting with a customer and they go, man, you're a lot more than you were last year. Right. And you go, well, I have a partner now I work with, and he sets all the prices. And so I don't have the ability to do that. But this is what, and Daniel, I want to get your take on that. Why do you have to be firm on those prices? Once you log those prices and you put them into your software, why do you got to be firm about those prices?
You want to be firm about the prices because we're in it to make money. We're not in it to lose money. And I don't give the technicians that work for me any authority to change the prices. They can't go into the software and adjust those prices. The only people that can adjust those prices would be my office manager.
There it is. And what happens is that the customer always wants to pay less money, and the employees always want to pay raise.
Always.
Every employee wants to make more money, and every customer wants to pay less. And if you compromise on either side, pretty soon you're not profitable. Now, step 3 that Daniel just mentioned, he said you need to charge 15% more for commercial jobs. Daniel, please explain again in detail why you have to charge 15% more for commercial jobs and the potential liability that's there.
Well, the liability on that is a lot bigger than it would be on a residential house. So if you're working on a residential house, I mean, one of our technicians may step through the roof, and that will just cost me about $150. We're working on a commercial job currently, and if the crane operator drops that air conditioner through the roof of that commercial building, that's going to cost me thousands of dollars. So liability is a lot higher. So you have to take into account if something does go wrong, you have to charge that 15 to 20% more, just in case something does go wrong.
And this is Nathan with Complete Carpet. We've got great business owners here. And I want to throw one other little caveat in there for the people that are listening to this. Remember that it starts also with the value and the good quality work that you're doing first. In the absence of value, price is the only thing that matters. So if you are looking at bumping your price up a little bit, start off by making more value and more quality. And then when you bump your price up, your customers won't notice that much. We bumped our prices up just like Dr. Breck did, and that helped us tremendously. And I thought, oh, we will just a bunch of customers run off. We lost almost nobody because everyone said, well, we're not going to use anyone else, and you're still affordable. We just became profitable.
Right.
It's just really, really, really important that everybody out there understands we've got to learn to price properly. We can't have this poverty mentality where we're busy but we're not profitable. That's a dangerous place that you can get stuck in.
Well, yeah, and then you talk about scalability and plans for the future, and I mean all of these different things. If your prices aren't what they should be, or they're constantly adjusting, then those numbers are an elusive thing. They're always moving. The target's never the same. You can't plan for next year when you don't. The price was $45 today, and it might be $50 tomorrow, and da-da-da. I mean, like Daniel's saying, I mean, there's a clear this box costs X, and this is that. And then you have the numbers to back up and actually project and know what is going on, what's happening. I know exactly if I want to make a certain amount of money, I have to see a certain number of patients because we make so much per patient with the adjustment, and we can factor that in and we can adjust, and I can know, is it time to hire somebody? Can I afford to hire somebody? At what rate and at what position? And so we can make solid decisions without really wondering or being scared of it.
And if you're thinking about dropping a commercial AC unit through the roof of a commercial building, this just in, don't do that. Now, another question that the cruise missile has here is how to schedule the extra time needed to tackle bigger commercial jobs. Can you maybe dive into that question of what you want to ask Daniel here? Can you dive into that? What you want to ask?
Yeah, Daniel. Obviously, the commercial bids for me, they're taking 4 times, 5 times the amount of time a residential bid would take. Obviously, that has something to do with familiarity, but also just the complexity of them, at least in the electrical industry. So what do you do to kind of get through those commercial bids quicker, and how do you make time for that?
So we do use that software called Field Edge. And that helps the office staff stay on schedule along with all the technicians and helpers. And in that software, there is every job is priced. So they can go through a commercial project and bid an air conditioner. So that commercial air conditioner is priced in that software. So all they have to do is check and see the size of the unit, and then they can correspond that to Field Edge, and Field Edge will pop up the price right away, and we'll know exactly how much time it's going to take to do that, replace that commercial unit.
Right, because you can refer back to maybe some of your past projects too, and also kind of gauge off.
How
of
much
that.
is Field Edge per month? Isn't it like $1,000 a month?
It's only $250 a month, and then it's $50 per device. Each technician has an iPad that they carry around with them. So when all that software is loaded on there, they can take payments, they can take, they could send out quotes right away.
Yep.
All their jobs are on there. There's so much it can do. It tracks them.
For all the listeners out there, if you are an electrician, a contractor of any kind, air conditioning, I recommend that you check out the Field Edge software, because it's going to take you probably 20 hours to load in all the variables, and it's going to ask you for the price of this and that, and then you're just sitting there putting data in it. But once you have it, I mean, Daniel, wouldn't you say even on the most complex commercial jobs now, it maybe takes 10 minutes of clicking around to get a quote?
Yes, and I usually schedule about 1 hour per quote, so they're in and out quick.
Yeah.
I do have another
Less
question.
than an hour most of the time.
Daniel, I have another question. So kind of getting like in residential, it's pretty easy to kind of secret shop and figure out what your competitors are, pricing and whatnot. I mean, I've done it. We install generators, and, so I've had other electrical companies come out and bid for a generator install at a home. And that's easy. I can get somebody to do that. But when it comes to the commercial side of it, how do you price against your competitors? How do you know what the market is on these certain items, or these different jobs? How do you I mean, have you been able to do any secret shopping? What would you say about that?
Yes, and that's one thing we do just about once every year. This year we had I have a lady technician, and she called about 15 companies, and out of those 15 companies, maybe 3 or 4 actually showed up or even returned her call, and went and gave her a quote on an air conditioning unit. So I kind of priced it off of the local contractors here, and I'm still at my profit margins, 30-35% for residential. So we do the secret shopping.
Well, I'm talking more on a commercial level. I mean, are you able to do any secret shopping to see what the other, those other contractors are doing on a commercial side?
That I actually have not done. I just put my profit margins where they need to be, and that's if the customer doesn't want to go with it, and
let me
move on to the next.
Let me make sure
job.
that
I don't need them.
let me make sure the listeners get what he's saying. What he did is he is definitely mystery shopped on the residential side.
Oh yeah.
And then no matter what, and then he just takes his profit margin for residential and bumps it up by 15%. And I can tell you that is pretty much what most commercial people do. Now, I can tell you what I've done for commercial stuff. If you want to do, if you want to go that level, I've done this. So when I had a DJ Connection, I was trying to get into more commercial, like doing Christmas parties for Southwest Airlines or Bama Pie or Boeing or whatever.
Big corporate events.
Big corporate events where instead of doing just private weddings. And so I actually would go as far as to book them. So like I would actually hire like big entertainment companies to provide entertainment for my staff. Or for just random people. I would call a client who I knew who had a business and say, hey, you go book the other guys and I'll pay for it. I just want to see, how does that process work? How do they bid you? How do they quote you? And I was able to just get all the information that way. So I've paid for many, many Christmas parties for people who are friends of mine in order to get them to use my competition to find that out. So that's one way to do it.
And I got a super dirty move that we've used quite a few times. And if you are doing the bid process or you're going through it, if you make a good relationship with the person that you're going through, I have at least a dozen plus times. It's how I end up getting the Tulsa Housing Authority contract, and a couple others was the person I was with. I said, hey, I want to do the best job for you. I want to do, what's some of the other bids you've gotten here? And they'll say, oh, yeah, the guy who was just before you, the company, they said that they could do the whole project for around this.
I've had
these
them
are their
give
numbers
me their actual quotes. I've had them forward emails.
Really? I've had that happen.
Yeah,
and I say, hey, I want to provide. I would love to come in and be your guy. So I want to see if I'm in the ballpark, or maybe I can beat your guys. And they're like, oh yeah, I'll show you what it is. Can you beat this?
Now,
and I see their numbers completely.
Now, Daniel, I know you've got church here, so I've got you for 90 more seconds here. I got two final hot questions for you. Commercial contracting. Okay. What should your team consist of? Do you have a job site manager, a foreman, a journeyman? Talk about. I know commercial HVAC is different from electrical, but there's a lot of parallels and similarities. What should a commercial contracting team consist of?
So a commercial contracting team, we have a lead technician, a technician, and normally 2 helpers. We'll have about 4 people on the job at all times. Some of those units get pretty big to move around. And as your guys, Ben and John and Ty, they kind of saw how big these units were. Some of them were just as big, about as big as a small house. So
what?
Yeah, they're huge.
Oh boy, you have to buy some insurance there.
Deal with these cooling towers.
So you said
that one was not a cooling tower, but they were package units actually.
Oh wow!
Wow. So you're suggesting, or you're saying that your team consists of a lead technician, then a technician, and 2 helpers. Is that right?
Yes.
And I will say we have a great show we did where we interviewed the founder of one of the most successful pool companies in Oklahoma called Pool Creations. We interviewed Jeff. And in that show, Jason could give it to you because it hasn't come out yet. He explains how he does his jobs. But essentially, the lead technician shows up on the job site every single day and makes sure that when people leave the job site, it's clean, it's complete, it's finished. And it's just kind of having that person that goes onto the job site every day and actually physically shows up, keeps them from drifting. And that's the top pool company in Oklahoma. And the final question was, should there be a separate role for commercial and residential jobs? cruise missile, what do you mean by that? What does this question mean? I want to make sure we're asking Daniel the right question.
I'm not. I'm not quite sure actually. I don't know if I phrased it that way.
Oh, maybe I am mangling your questions. I'm a bad host.
Yeah.
Did you have any final question for Daniel while we have him here?
No, I think he's covered it pretty much. My main questions were on the estimating side.
Got
of
it.
Yeah.
So Daniel, I've got my final question, and I'll let you take off here. You've grown Snow Bear Heat and Air quite a bit this year. How much have you grown Snow Bear Heat and Air over the past 12 months?
Over the past 12 months, this year we made about $350,000 more than we made last year.
Ooh.
So we're at $1 million, almost $1.2 million.
Up from 900,000 ish, maybe 850.
Yes.
And you've been a client working with Andrew and myself now for how long?
It's been about 9 months, 10 months.
Why do you actually implement everything? Like, what is wrong with you? Why do you implement everything? Because Pastor Brian told me, he said, here's the deal. If you work with Daniel, I'm telling you, he's a diligent guy. He's going to execute everything. And because I met you through when I spoke at his church, that's how we met. What makes you an implementer? Why are you not just a hearer of the words? Why do you actually implement?
Well, I would describe my weekly coaching meetings with you and Andrew as very productive, from going over all the action items, looking at all the numbers, figuring out ways we can grow, and some of the things that you guys have actually helped me figure out, which I had no idea about, would be the systems on how to hire people was huge on doing the group interviews.
Yeah.
And firing people, not keeping them around longer than they need to be. So hire fast, fire fast. On how Google works, I had no idea before I started working with you guys how Google and how that helped you to generate leads, and how and you guys building our website for us. That was huge.
Well, you are a diligent doer, and I'm not sure what's wrong with you, but I wish that more people had that same problem. I think a lot of people, they hire a coach or a consultant, and they want to know what to do, and you tell them, hey, you need to do the group interview. And then they go, okay, I'm not going to do that, though. I call that an ask hole. An ask hole. It's somebody who wants to know what to do, and they're like a hole of knowledge. You tell them what to do. They keep asking. All the knowledge goes down a hole, and then they do the opposite of what you told them because of their pride, because of what their spouse is telling them, because of whatever blog they've been reading, or whatever TED Talks. I'm serious, though, and it's a tough thing when you have somebody who won't implement. And I can tell you, Andrew has loved working with you. I do too, and I'm so excited to be partnering with you to open up Snow Bear Heat and Air in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I know you've got to head off to church, and I really do appreciate your time. And you're a great American. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you guys. Nice talking to you guys.
So my name is Kate Weston, and I am originally from Olathe, Kansas. So my husband and I own a mobile detailing business called Red Tail Detail, and we service the Kansas and Missouri area. Honestly, just the shift in mindset that we've learned from this conference alone has changed our business. It teaches you a different way to think, how to work within your business, and just the resources that we've been given by coming here is incredible. It's great. The atmosphere here is incredible. It's like you're with people you've known your whole life, but you're just now meeting them. They're great. They're very welcoming and warm. There's funny parts. There's serious parts. It's just been a great all-around experience. So my husband isn't one to recommend workshops or to go and do fun things, and he couldn't speak highly enough about this specific workshop. We had gone a couple months ago. He went to another workshop, same thing as this with Clay, and he loved it, and he was fired up, and he was like, you have to go. It's such a wonderful experience, and we're going to build this business together, and I think we need this will help us get on the same page so that we can grow our company together the way we need to be successful. I think that everybody should attend one Thrivetime conference at least once in their life.
And the questions you want me to ask?
For nothing else, just to get to see other successful people.
My name is July. I'm originally from Canada. The atmosphere is electric, and I feel like no matter where you're coming from or your background, if you're plugging into this kind of culture, it's going to challenge you to be the best version of yourself.
My name is Dr. Tristan Owens, and I'm from Tallahassee, Florida. Well, essentially, I'm always looking to grow business-wise and for personal development, and I looked on Google and typed in some of the best business coaches, and then I saw information on Clay and saw Thrive 15, so that's how I was introduced to this organization. Well, at first, I was kind of skeptical, but once I did my research and looked more in depth into Clay and the other owners and so forth, I knew that it was a very good and incredible organization. What I've learned is just it's very important to have good time management skills, and just how important it is to have systems in place to build your business. If you have the systems in place, you can apply it to any business and you can grow a great business. Man, it's amazing energy in here, amazing culture. When you walk in, you just see a lot of energy, and it just ignites your energy and make you want to do the best you could do, so it's a great environment. I like the teaching style. It's very entertaining as well, so you're always pretty much engaged into what they're saying. They're giving you a lot of different action steps, and they're breaking everything down to precise information, so I love it. So if you have any questions, you can ask questions, so it's a great learning environment for me. Just being around a whole bunch of like-minded individuals that's all trying to better themselves, trying to network and get to know each other, but most importantly, one of the best essential skills you can have, which is build a business. They give you all the foundation information you need, other outside sources as well, so it's very important to be here, and I'm glad I'm here. Well, with the motivation, I mean, that's what they do. They motivate you, but they don't really give you the keys and the different actionable steps that you need to actually accomplish whatever goals you're trying to accomplish. I love the motivation, but I also want to know what to actually do to build a business, and that's what I get here. What I love about the Thrive 15 conference is they don't hold back anything. They give you everything you need. If you have any questions, they're going to give you the exact answers you need, and I don't feel like they're trying to sell me anything or just trying to hold back. They just want to make sure we grow and we get everything we need to be successful.
My name is Chad Murray from Long Island, New York. We do mortgages for real estate investors. I actually heard about this conference from a partner. I was looking to actually expand on different marketing techniques that we could implement now that could really help us to grow our business. I learned how important it is to have the right workflow in your business, how important it is to delegate, and how important it is to really take the time out to focus on those details that might seem mundane, but really are the determining factor on whether or not your business is going to succeed or not. Clay's presentation style is just real cool, laid back, intimate. It's not like there's any part of it that's anything less than entertaining and fun, but so informative. Very detailed and specific, which I think really makes a big difference. The atmosphere here at Thrive is really cool. It smells great. The staff is really cool and friendly. Everyone's so personable, and Clay and Marshall are so down to earth and approachable. I'm so glad I'm here. If you don't come, you're probably going to be missing out on that one thing, that one detail that's missing from putting it all together. And I really believe that what we're learning here this weekend is going to really make it easy for us to implement the right strategies, the techniques, and the other details that make it all come together.
My name is Chris Tracy. The name of my company is CT Technologies. So originally I had no systems and it was chaos all the time. Things weren't getting done. People weren't accountable for the things that were supposed to get done, and it was a mess. Since implementing processes and standards, everybody's held accountable for what's on their task list, and everything's basically getting done, or we have some sort of reasoning or scheduling conflict. With quality control, the biggest thing I'm able to see my KPIs and see when we have issues with customers, when backups aren't done, or when they are done. So we're able to keep. I think it's easier for them. It's easier for us to give them a piece of paper and go over it with them, and it's the same every time. As opposed to just at a whim judging the situation. So it took me a weekend, Friday night all the way through Saturday morning, from 4 a.m. all the way to about 8 p.m. Working on what I needed to do in my business and breaking it down by department and putting it all out there. That was the hardest thing to do.
My name is Daniel Ramos. I'm from Amarillo, Texas. I heard about Thrivetime show through Pastor Brian over at his church in Amarillo. Clay went over to our church and he spoke over there, and ever since then I've been listening to Mr. Clay Clark and Dr. Z. I own a heating and air conditioning business in Amarillo, Texas, and I'm looking to learn how to market my business better. The way I would describe Clay's office here is hype. He's like Flavor Flav up there with a big chain, and he just keeps the whole place hype. He's a great host. I would describe Clay's style and delivery a little bit like Flavor Flav. He's always keeping it hype. He keeps everybody energized. I enjoy listening to him on the podcast. He's funny, he's hilarious, the stories he tells, it's great. I think the best thing I can say I learned here at the conference is the reviews. You've got to get reviews. You got to have your website up, and you have to have some web presence. If you decide not to attend, and you're missing out on a ton, you're missing out on a chance to help grow your business for sure. And it just, him showing you the systems on how things work. Everybody needs to attend at least one time, because you're not sure what you don't know until you learn that you don't know it, and now that you know, you want to go out and use it in business.
Hi, my name is Kurt Hutflez, and I am the owner of PowerPoint Design 24/7. I want to share my experience working with the business coaching program through Thrivetime. We've been working with them for a little over 5 months now, and during that time, we have rebranded our website. We have a new no-brainer Purple Cow offer. We have turnkey marketing and ads running that do not take up a personal time. We have a new interview and hiring system in place. We have built training presentations to get our new hires up to speed. So during this time, we have hit our goals, and now we're just working the system to find new leads and clients. It's been a great experience, and highly recommend the business coaching at Thrivetime show. Thanks.
My name is Rachel Wimpy, and I'm originally from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I've learned so much. My head, I feel like, is about to explode. But a lot that I've taken away from it is the working on your business instead of in your business, because I have the tendency to just want to do it all myself. And that's one thing that Clay really teaches, is to have systems in place that you don't have to be there running it, and your business can actually run without you. It's just awesome. It's like a entrepreneur playground. It's amazing here. So it's really awesome. A fun atmosphere, lots of cool stuff, lots of fun quotes. It's just a really cool place to be. Clay's presentation and his style is so different than most. It's been really one-on-one. He takes the time to just kind of answer your questions about your business rather than just a generic answer. He'll personalize it for different people's businesses, because everybody's is different, but at the same time you implement those very same systems that he's discovered throughout all of the businesses he's ran, and it's just a lot of good information, really good presentation. If you don't come, you're just going to be missing out on so much actually applicable, knowledge that's applicable, rather than just accounting information. It's very hands-on. The Thrive 15 conference has been great because there is no real upsell. He's not pushing anything down our throats. I've gone to different conferences before where my husband and I have been upsold over and over and over and over again, and they've just been pushing that down our throats, and it's you know how it is. It's annoying, and so there's none of that here. It's been really nice. Most business conferences are very, very expensive, and to just go and then get upsold again to spend even more money. This one's very affordable. It's definitely worth it. It'll completely change your mindset. It'll change your life. definitely worth it. I recommend that people check out the Thrive conference because it'll completely change your mindset about, just working your business to actually being a business owner and actually being able to apply all that knowledge that you will learn here. It's going to change your business. It's going to bring you from, where you thought you could go to higher. It's very, you should definitely do it. You should definitely check it out.
My name is Paul James Matherin, and I'm originally from England, Essex, England. I actually heard about it through my brother Andy. He's good friends with Clay, and he told me about it, and it's a good idea for us to come on over. I didn't think Thrive 15 was a scam. I did some research on it, and also I know Clay personally, so I was really excited to attend. I've learned so much since coming to the Thrive 15 conference. Marketing, for one. I thought I was pretty good at marketing myself, but there's so much that I haven't really considered that Clay has shared with me. Sales, the sales structure, different things that I can do within the sales conversation, things that I can teach people that, because I work in training, so people that I can teach sales skills to. There's a lot of things I haven't even considered yet, which Clay was very specific with today. So the Thrive 15 World Headquarters, when I first walked in the door, I was absolutely amazed at the style. It's really, it kind of seems like another world within Tulsa. It's from the tables to the chairs to the setup. It's just a cool environment. It's an up-to-date, very hip style environment. So very enjoyable. I absolutely love Clay's presentation and delivery style. He kind of reminds me of a cross between a comedian and a very professional presenter. He gets the point across. He knows how to use different analogies to reach different people in the audience, and he's absolutely hilarious. He really is. I find myself cracking up most of the time. So yeah, it's really enjoyable for sure. I'd say the interaction level is very high. I would say, what's the word I'm looking for? I find that I'm very engaged. It's very hard to keep my attention. So the fact that he's asking a lot of questions and he's using everybody's names, it feels as though that he knows everyone individually and personally. So I very much enjoy his presentation style and the interaction level. I actually have a number of friends that are aspiring to start their own businesses but aren't taking those first necessary steps. I feel like they're missing out because they don't understand how important it is to get started. I think that's one of the big points that Clay makes is to actually just do something, take action. So that they're missing out on a lot of inspiration, a lot of learning points. And in addition to that, they're missing out on the opportunity of being in an environment where there are a lot of other people in the same shoes as them. So I would say that among millions of other things they're missing out by not attending. So by me showing up, I'm definitely going to be speaking to a lot of people about coming to an event like this. I've personally been to a Tony Robbins seminar last November. At the time, I thought it was excellent. I thought it was great. Very inspiring, but it was very short-lived. I've come to this, and yes, I did feel like I was being upsold. I'll be completely honest. I was there for 4 days, and one of the days was entirely spent trying to upsell me on other things or whatnot. You kind of felt like you were pressured to do something, spend more money. Didn't have that feeling here whatsoever. It really feels like Clay is about you and your development and your improvement. And he actually makes it a very specific point not to upsell you, he tells you to leave your wallet in the car because his main prerogative is for you to have a good experience here and take something away that you can develop over the long term rather than just short-term gains. I would definitely recommend people to come check it out so they could get the first steps of their business going, ready to take action. They have a big support system here at a Thrive 15 conference, especially in Clay, because you can tell that he cares. And he's got a lot of good advice to give people in a new business. But in addition to that, you may be a seasoned business owner. There are so many different things that I can guarantee that you haven't considered yet. New ideas, new concepts, and just a different set of eyes on business in general can definitely get you to go to that next level in addition to starting a new business.
I am Steve Small. I'm part owner in Bigfoot Restoration Repair. We are in the Denver metro area in Colorado. We're kind of technically probably in our 3.5, 4th year of Bigfoot, but really only our second in truly trying to go after capturing major market share in the Denver area. So our first year, we did pretty well, kind of winging it on our own. But this last year, I think we're up about 112% growth based on the previous year. So with Thrive, obviously they have us do a multitude of things that, prior to working with them, we really didn't understand the value. So obviously we put a ton of time into obviously doing great work and really doing great technical execution of our industry for all of our clients. But in addition to that, we're heavy into podcasting, into creating content for our website, just doing really all of those action items that they, suggest are a part of a successful growing business. So we started with Thrive last April. One of my best friends had encouraged me to go out to one of their conferences the year before that. Just could never make it work. So we finally snuck out there in spring of last year, hopped on board, and we've been rocking and rolling ever since. Mr. Andrew, he is he's a great guy. Really appreciate his energy and his hustle. He honestly motivates us as a younger person. Just brings massive amounts of energy to our meeting every Tuesday morning, bright and early, and we've enjoyed working with him immensely thus far. Yep, so I do this constantly. All of my friends and people that I network with that have smaller companies, regardless of the industry, I always encourage them to listen to the Thrive podcast, to, maybe make a trip out with us to Tulsa at some point, and just really say it's worth the look. They say it's not the right fit for everyone, which I suppose that's true. But, anybody that I network with is, super cream of the crop when it comes to their industry. To me, it's a no-brainer, but it's got to be something where they understand the time commitment and that extra, just type of time management to their work day. But to me, it's always something that they need to at least check out.
Hi, my name's Steven. My incredible coach, Jason, asked me if I'd share a little bit about invoicing and how it's changed our business not to invoice. So we run a manufacturing company called Mod Scenes, and I have a couple of questions to answer. So what was our life like when we were invoicing? Not super great. We did a lot of work where, since we do manufacturing, a lot of expenses would go out on the front end, and then on the back end, we'd be caught trying to chase people down for money to be able to pay for the materials that we'd already, cut and sent to the clients. So obviously that was not a huge, great thing. It's constantly thinking through, okay, what money coming from which job can go to the next job. It put us in a place where we had to spend a ton of time thinking through the money part of it. And on a consistent basis, we'd have clients who wouldn't pay, or they would take 45 days instead of 30 or 60 days to pay. We even had one client, I think it took us almost 200 days to get paid on, tens of thousands of dollars worth of material. So it became a very big sticking point really quickly. So I was concerned whenever we stopped invoicing because I was worried I wouldn't get that work. There have been a couple of small times that's happened, but honestly, in retrospect, I see that I probably didn't need those people as clients anyways, because we ended up doing a lot of work for them, and by the time all of our time was put into chasing down money from those and actually getting the finished product to where we were happy with it and they were happy with it, it ended up being more time than we probably were paid for. So since then, our life's improved. About 90% of our business is paid up front. Another probably 7% of it is there's a large deposit paid on, and only a very select few customers get invoiced, and they're typically on a net 30. But those are customers we've had since the beginning, and they're outstanding. So I hope this is helpful. I'd be happy to answer any other specific questions if it helps you. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Jim Cathcart. I'm from Thousand Oaks, California, originally Little Rock, Arkansas. Happy to be in Tulsa. I'm a professional speaker and author. I've been doing this for 41 years, so I've done 3,100 talks around the world to convention audiences typically. And I've written 18 books. And so in my niche, I've gone deep and wide. And I love being around this kind of training. And that's what attracted me to Thrive in the first place. One of the coolest things about Thrive is it's a culture. It's not just a place. It's not just a thing or a process. It's a culture. And, like people talk about the Disney culture, the Google culture, the Amazon, whatever, the Zappos. A lot of companies have been featured for their unique cultures. Well, if you look around here, and you can see some of this behind me, you can certainly see it on all the other walls, and the floor and the ceiling. Every inch of it is intentional. Every inch of it is designed to stimulate more creativity, more discipline, more commitment, more openness, more sensitivity on some level. I'm looking at a wall right now, and it talks about how do you achieve the wow factor and how important is vision, and why is enthusiasm so important? How do you stimulate motivation? How do you increase your expectations so that you increase your game to reach those expectations? All of this puts you into a mindset that causes you to want to grow, want to be more, want to make a difference. That's what I love about Thrive. Let's assume for a minute you heard about Thrive. You read one of Clay's books. You tuned into the radio show. You, you signed up for $1 and you watched a few of the mentor videos online, okay? And you say, yeah, it was good. Okay, I know what that is. Well, yeah, it's kind of like wandering through a library and reading part of a book and saying, yeah, I got that, right? Go through a Barnes & Noble. Find one near you. Go through one. Just wander through. Look at the titles. Pick up a few of them. Read a couple of pages. And then leave the store. You're going to be better off. Maybe a little. Okay? But why should you come to the Thrive Workshop? Because that's where it gets processed. So you don't get better from exposure to ideas. You get better from application of the ideas. And the workshop is a workshop. It's not a seminar where you listen. It's not a speech where you just hear it. It's a workshop where you work on your business, your life, your goals, your concerns, your fears, your aspirations. So come to the workshop. First off, it's one of the most affordable in the entire world of training and development. Second, it is fun. I mean, you're going to feel good. And it's creative. So you're going to come out of here with not just ideas from the workshop itself, but workshops from the experience you had. Ideas from the experience you had by being in the workshop. So I would heartily encourage you to book an inexpensive flight to Tulsa, Oklahoma, find a nearby hotel room, and come to this for a couple of days and just completely immerse yourself in evolving in this kind of an atmosphere.
Clay Clark is here somewhere. Where's my buddy Clay? Clay's the greatest. I met his goats today. I met his dogs. I met his chickens. I saw his compound. He's like the greatest guy.
I ran from his goats, his chickens, his dogs.
So this guy's like the greatest marketer you've ever seen, right? His entire life, Clay Clark, his entire life is marketing.
Okay, Aaron Antis, March 6th and 7th. March 6th and 7th, guess who's coming to Tulsa, Jerusalem?
Ooh, Santa Claus?
No, that's March 6th and 7th. You're going to be joined by Robert Kiyosaki.
Robert Kiyosaki.
Best-selling author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Probably the best-selling, or one of the best-selling business authors of all time. And he's going to be joined with Eric Trump. He'll be joined by Eric Trump. So we got Eric Trump and Robert Kiyosaki in the same place. Aaron, why should everybody show up to hear Robert Kiyosaki?
Well, you got billions of dollars of business experience between those two, not to mention many, many, many millions of books have been sold. Many, many millionaires have been made from the books that have been sold by Robert Kiyosaki. I happen to be one of them. I learned from the man. He was the inspiration. That book was the inspiration for me to get the entrepreneurial spirit, as many other people.
Now, since you won't brag on yourself, I will. You've sold billions of dollars of houses, am I correct?
That is true.
And the book that kickstarted it all for you,
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the author, the best-selling author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, the guy that kickstarted your career.
Yeah.
He's going to be here.
He's going to be here. I'm pumped.
And now Eric Trump, people don't know this, but the Trump organization has thousands of employees. There's not 50 employees. The Trump organization, again, most people don't know this, but the Trump organization has thousands of employees. And while Donald J. Trump was the 45th president of these United States and soon to be the 47th president of these United States, he needed someone to run the companies for him. And so the man that runs the Trump organization for Donald J. Trump, as he was the 45th president of the United States and now the 47th president of the United States, is Eric Trump. And so Eric Trump is here to talk about time management, promoting from within, marketing, branding, quality control, sales systems, workflow design, workflow mapping, how to build. I mean, everything that you see, the Trump hotels, the Trump golf courses, all their products, the man who manages billions of dollars of real estate and thousands of employees is here to teach us how to do it.
You are talking about one of the greatest brands on the planet from a business standpoint.
Right.
I mean, who else has been able to create a brand like the Trump brand? I mean, look at it. And this is the man behind the business for the last pretty much since 2015. He's been the man behind it. So you're talking, we're into 9 going into 10 years of him running it, and we get to tap into that knowledge. That's going to be amazing.
Now, think about this for a second. Would you buy a ticket just to see Robert Kiyosaki and Eric Trump? Of course you would.
Of course you would.
But we're also going to be joined by Sean Baker. This is the best-selling author, the guy who invented the carnivore diet.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Sean Baker. He's been on Joe Rogan multiple times. He's going to be joining us. So you've got Robert Kiyosaki, the best-selling author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Eric Trump, Sean Baker. The lineup continues to grow, and this is how we do our tickets here at the Thrivetime Show. If you want to get a VIP ticket, you can absolutely do it. It's $500 for a VIP ticket. We've always done it that way. Now, if you want to take a general admission ticket, it's $250 or whatever price you want to pay. And the reason why I do that, and the reason why we do that is because we want to make our events affordable for everybody. I grew up without money. I totally understand what it's like to be in a tight spot. So if you want to attend, it's $250 or whatever price you want to pay. That's how I do it. And it's $500 for a VIP ticket. Now, we only have limited seating here. With the most people we've ever had in this building was for the Jim Brewer presentation. Jim Brewer came here, the legendary comedian Jim Brewer came to Tulsa, and we had 419 people that were here. 419 people.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, there's no more room. I felt kind of bad that a couple people had VIP seats in the men's restroom. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. But I thought, you know what? We should probably add on. So we're adding on what we call the upper deck, or the top shelf. So the seats are very close to the presenters, but we're actually building right now. We're adding on to the facility to make room to accommodate about another 30 attendees or more. So again, if you want to get tickets for this event, all you have to do is go to thrivetimeshow.com. Go to thrivetimeshow.com. When you go to thrivetimeshow.com, you'll go there, you'll request a ticket, boom. Or if you want to text me, if you want a little bit faster service, you say, I want you to call me right now. Just text my number. It's my cell phone number, my personal cell phone number. We'll keep that private between you, me, everybody. We'll keep that private. In anybody. Don't share that with anybody except for everybody. That's my private cell phone number. It's 918-851-0102. 918-851-0102. I know we have a lot of Spanish-speaking people that attend these conferences, and to be bilingually sensitive, my cell phone number is 918-851-0102.
That is not actually bilingual. That's just saying Juan for a one. It's not the same thing.
I think you're attacking me. Now, let's talk about this. Now, what kind of stuff will you learn at the Thrivetime Show workshop? So, Aaron, you've been to many of these over the past 7-8 years. So let's talk about it. I'll tee up the thing, and then you tell me what you're going to learn here, okay?
Okay.
You're going to learn marketing and branding. What are we going to learn about marketing and branding?
Oh, yeah. We're going to dive into, so many people say, I got to get my brand known out there, like the Trump brand, right? You want to get that brand out there. It's like, how do I actually make people know what my business is and make it a household name? You're going to learn some intricacies of how you can do that.
You're going to learn sales. So many people struggle to sell something. This just in, your business will go to hell if you can't sell. So we're going to teach you sales. We're going to teach you search engine optimization, how to come up top in the search engine results. We're going to teach you how to manage people. Aaron, you have managed, no exaggeration, hundreds of people throughout throughout your career and thousands of contractors,
Oh, yeah.
and most people struggle with managing people. Why does everybody have to learn how to manage people?
Well, because first of all, people are, you either have great people or you have people who suck. And so it can be a challenge. You know, learning how to work with a large group of people and get everybody pulling in the same direction can be a challenge. But if you have the right systems, you have the right processes, and you're really good at selecting great ones, and we have a process we teach about how to find great people. When you start with the people who have a great attitude, they're teachable, they're driven, all of those things, then, you know, you can get those people all pulling in the same direction.
So we're going to teach you branding, marketing, sales, search engine optimization. We're going to teach you accounting. We're going to teach you personal finance, how to manage your finance. We're going to teach you time management. How do you manage your time? How do you get more done during a typical day? How do you build an organization if you're not organized? How do you do organization? How do you build an org chart? Everything that you need to know to start and grow a business will be taught during this 2-day interactive business workshop. Now, let me tell you how the format is set up here. And again, folks, this is a 2-day interactive 15. Think about this, folks. It's 2 days. Each day it starts at 7 a.m. and it goes until 5 p.m. So from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., 2 days. It's a 2-day interactive workshop. The way we do it is we do a 30-minute teaching session, and then we break for 15 minutes for a question and answer session. So, Aaron, what kind of great stuff happens during that 15-minute question and answer session after every teaching session?
I actually think it's the best part about the workshops, because here's what happens. I've been to lots of these things over the years. I've paid many thousands of dollars to go to them. And you go in there and they talk in vague generalities, and they're constantly upselling you for something, trying to get you to buy this thing or that thing or this program or this membership. And you leave not getting your very specific questions answered about your business or your employees or what you're doing on your marketing. And what's awesome about this is we literally answer every single question that any person asks, and it's very specific to what your business is.
And what we do is we allow you as the attendee to write your questions on the whiteboard.
Yep.
And then we literally, as you mentioned, we answer every single question on the whiteboard. And then we take a 15-minute break to stretch and to make it entertaining when you're stretching. This is a true story. When you get up and stretch, you'll be greeted by mariachis. There's going to probably be alpaca here, llamas, helicopter rides, a coffee bar, a snow cone. I mean, there's just...
You had a crocodile one time. That was pretty interesting.
You know, I should write that down and actually do that.
Sorry for that one guy that we lost.
The crocodile, we duct taped its face so that we duct taped.
No, it was a baby crocodile.
And it was duct tape.
Yeah, duct tape around the mouth so it didn't bite anybody. But it was really cool passing that thing around and petting it.
I should do that. We have a small petting zoo that will be assembled. It's going to be great. And then you're in the company of hundreds of entrepreneurs. So there's not a lot of people in America today. In fact, there's less than 10 million people today, according to U.S. Debt Clock, that identify as being self-employed. So if you have a country with 350 million people, that means you have less than 3% of our population that's even self-employed. Yeah. So you only have 3 out of every 100 people in America that are self-employed to begin with. And when Inc. magazine reports that 96% of businesses fail by default, you have a 1 out of 1,000 chance of succeeding in the game of business.
It's tough.
But yet the average client that you and I work with, we can typically double this. And this is no hyperbole, no exaggeration. And I have thousands of testimonials to back this up. We have thousands of testimonials to back it up. But when you work with a home builder, when I work with a business owner, we can typically double the size of the company within 24 months.
Yeah.
Double. And you say double? Yeah, there's businesses that we have tripled. There's businesses we've grown 8x. There's so many examples you can see at thrivetimeshow.com. But again, this is the most interactive, best business workshop on the planet. This is objectively the highest rated and most reviewed business workshop on the planet. And then you add to that Robert Kiyosaki, the best-selling author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You add to that Eric Trump, the man that runs the Trump Organization. You add to that Sean Baker. Now you might say, but Clay, is there more? I need more. Well, okay, Tom Wheelwright is the wealth strategist for Robert Kiyosaki. So people say, Robert Kiyosaki, who's his financial wealth advisor? Who's the guy who manages, who's his wealth strategist? His wealth strategist, Tom Wheelwright, will be here. And you say, Clay, I'm not going to get a ticket unless you give me more. Okay, fine. We're going to serve you the same meal both days. True story. We cater in the food, and because I keep it simple. I literally bring him the same food both days for lunch. It's Ted Escondido's, an incredible Mexican restaurant. That's going to happen. And Jill Donovan, our good friend, who is the founder of Rustic Cuff. She started that company in her home, and now she sells millions of dollars of apparel and products. That's rusticcuff.com. And someone says, I want more. This is not enough.
Give me more.
Okay. I'm not going to mention their names right now because I'm working on it behind the scenes here. But we've got one guy who's given me a verbal to be here. And this is a guy who's one of the wealthiest people in Oklahoma. And nobody really knows who he is because he's built systems that are very utilitarian, that offer a lot of value. He's made a lot of money in the, it's where you rent. It's short term. It's where you're renting storage spaces. He's a storage space guy. He owns the. What do you call that? The rental.
Storage space.
Storage units. This guy owns storage units. He owns railroad cars. He owns a lot of assets that make money on a daily basis, but they're not like customer facing. Most people don't know who owns the mini storage facility, or most people don't know who owns the warehouse that's passively making money. Most people don't know who owns the railroad cars, but this guy, he's given me a verbal that he will be here, and we just continue to add more and more success stories. So if you're out there today and you want to change your life, you want to give yourself an incredible gift, you want a life-changing experience, you want to learn how to start and grow a company, go to thrivetimeshow.com. Go there right now, thrivetimeshow.com. Request a ticket for the 2-day interactive event. Again, the day here is March 6th and 7th. March 6th and 7th, we just got confirmation. Robert Kiyosaki, best-selling author, Rich Dad Poor Dad, he'll be here. Eric Trump, the man who leads the Trump organization. It's going to be a blasty blast. There's no upsells. Aaron, I could not be more excited about this event.
I think it is incredible. And there's somebody out there right now, you're watching and you're like, but I already signed up for this incredible other program called Smoke Your Way to Thin. You think that's going to change your life? I promise you this will be 10 times better than that.
Looks like I picked the wrong week to quit smoking.
Don't do the Smoke Your Way to Thin conference. That is, I've tried it. Don't do it.
Yeah, chain smoking is not a viable. I mean, it is life-changing. It is life-changing. If you become a chain smoker, it is life-changing.
Not the best weight loss program, though.
Right, really. So if you're looking to have life-changing results in a way that won't cause you to have a stoma, get your tickets at thrivetimeshow.com. Again, that's Aaron Antis. I'm Clay Clark, and reminding you and inviting you to come out to the 2-day interactive Thrive Time Show workshop right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I promise you it will be a life-changing experience. We can't wait to see you right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma.